Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to Lone Oak Farm. On to day 3, it's mid-autumn and we have a very wet forecast ahead of us. It's still grey and overcast at the moment from the night before. There's no real clouds in the sky as such, this is just the night default texture that we have at the moment. You can still see... well, we could see, yes, you can just see there are still stars up in the sky. Look, it's still pretty clear. So, the rain isn't inbound just yet, but as you can see, we're getting ready to start our sugar beet harvest. Sun should be coming up pretty soon, within the next sort of 20 minutes or so, half an hour. Let's get our shed opened up. In fact, I think the sun is... Maybe the sun's starting... It looks a bit brighter than it was a moment ago. There we go. Get the lights on as well. So we're going to need our auger wagon. And the header. Oh, there's the sun just starting to creep up in the corner there. And I'm not sure which field I want to get started on. We've got 2 fields to do, fields 53 and 54. I think we'll do field 53 first. We might as well, it's closer. So we'll get our equipment in place over there. Take these down and then we'll get the harvester brought over as well. Get set up. We need to do some headlands on the side of field 53 near the orchard because we're going to need the turning room. It is a shorter wheelbase harvester, so it shouldn't take as long or need as much room to turn around. There we go. But that in itself won't be enough space, so yeah, let's make our way back, grab the... In fact, actually, we'll do it the quick way. There we go. And this thing is brilliant. I love the interior of this. It's very, very well detailed. It's one of those mods that just... I don't really see many people using because they just generally tend to go with the biggest piece of equipment available, but this is brilliant. I love these little extra screens that we have in here. A little RPM counter there. You can see our fill level is displayed on there. Our fuel level. Our work time is displayed on there as well, which is really, really clever. And also the amount of hectares that we've worked as well. It's really, really nice. And then we actually have, on the top there, you can see we have an in-cab control of 19 degrees. Nice... nice room temperature setting there, and then 703 on the clock in front of us. That's actually tied into the clock in the top right corner of the screen. And these are, you know, at least these 2 side screens that we have, top left and top right, those are not part of the actual Holmer Terra DOS, the larger version, the base game version. Those are additions that are part of this. You know, they have a different display screen setup in here, but just look at the interior quality of how well this mod is designed. It really does look absolutely fantastic. I'm hugely impressed with this mod, but I have to admit I haven't used it myself that much either. I've tended to just have this installed so that I can use the larger headers, you know, the 12 row header, and I felt it was time to give this thing a bit more of a spotlight because it is absolutely cracking. In terms of quality, this is one of the best mods out there, without a shadow of a doubt. Absolutely fantastic piece of equipment, this. And steering wise, it can do everything, if I can remember how to do it. It can go into the different steering modes, the other one can as well. Let me just hire a worker for a second. Let's turn on the help window. And now unfreeze the worker. Ah, there we go. So it's R1 and L3. And there you can see we do get the same steering options. You can see this is actually crabbing at the moment. You get the same steering options, including all-wheel steering and turn steering, where you can see that the cab pivots. Oops, I'm driving into the... Careless. Just destroyed some of my beats there. But it does have those same steering options that the base game version does. You know, it's really, really impressive, this thing. Why am I not collecting? Did I not unfold this properly? Or is it just because I'm at a different height with the crab, perhaps? Alright, that's very odd. All of a sudden this thing has stopped working. As we singing its praises about how good this thing is, and now it doesn't want to work. Not quite sure what's going on here. Let's try that again. Let's try hiring a worker this time. Ah, there we go. It just doesn't seem to... Oh, I know why. I only turned on the header, I didn't turn on the harvester itself. That's why. Forget, you have to do that with these. I just turned on the header. There we go, that's the machine turned on. I just turned on the header, and that was just topping. That's why. That's why I wasn't collecting anything. It's my own stupid fault there. So we'll run back up here. There we go, now we're collecting the beats that we've already topped. And there you can see our display there with our speed, our RPM, our fill level going up as we're adding in additional beats. You can see our work time is going up in 10-minute increments as well. I'm assuming it's 10-minute increments. I don't know if the hectares thing is actually going to go up. I imagine it must do. I'd be amazed if it doesn't, seeing as everything else on the screens is accurate. There we go, that's our turning area done. I guess we'll just see when we get to, I'm guessing that must be in decimals as well, so maybe we haven't done 0.1 of a hectare yet. What I do like about the fuel gauge as well, you can see, oh there we go, there's the hectare, just changed to 0.1 of a hectare. You can see the fuel gauge is in tenths as well. It's not just solid litres, which is the 1115 litres, but it goes down in decimal steps as well. As I said, the quality of this mod is absolutely incredible. And it's just a shame that I haven't really used it. I've always tended to go, as I say, with the larger version. You can see the turn steering really is very, very turny. I'm going to put it back onto all-wheel steering, which is a little bit more comfortable. There we go. I think the worker will automatically set it into turn steering. So we can leave our worker to kind of run up and down like that for a little while now. We are going to need that at some point later today. Not now. What we're going to need is this. Actually, I need to figure out what's the speed I'm going. 7 miles an hour. I need to set my cruise control to the right speed. Also need to drop off the header trailer. There we go. Cruise control set to 7. We're going to follow and fill up, and we're going to dump our beats into a long singular pile, and we'll be collecting those using our Terra Fellis. Once the harvest is complete on both fields, we'll have a dumping area somewhere between the two. That's the plan anyway. There is a smaller capacity on the Terra DOS, obviously, because it is a smaller machine. Let's just turn the help window back off again. So it can't hold as much as the larger one, which holds, I think, around about 45,000 litres, somewhere in that region. This only holds 35 litres, 35,000 litres in the beat auger tank, I think. I think it's 35,000 litres, maybe it's less than that. Oh, and there we go. The Terra DOS is full ready. So that only holds 30,000 litres as opposed to 45. So that's going to take a little bit of getting used to. I'm starting to wonder. I mean, we should have enough to do a full pass before we run out. It's only because we did all that stuff. You can see I forgot to unfold. It's automatically done it for us as we started dropping beats in. It should easily be able to go up and down. It's because we did our 2 headlands, and that's what's taken up the last of the space that we had available. But the other field, I think, is a little bit longer, so that might potentially be a bit more problematic. We might have to do headlands just to make sure that we can definitely go all the way down and then turn around and come back up again. So it could be a little bit trickier. Let's get this back in position and back on the beats. There we go. Yeah, it does look like 35,000 litres, doesn't it? So, you know that works. And I think this is going to be my dumping area, just here. And we should really put headlands in there to stop him from visually turning across. Alright, let's do that. We'll have to wait for this to reposition itself. It's having that little wiggle. It tries to get itself turned and aligned properly. That's very strange watching that. And then he overcorrects. Okay, I think it's programmed to use a 6-metre header, which is why we've actually got quite a bigger overlap here. Okay, that's fine. We can work with that. Let's do headlands on both of these fields here, just to make sure that we have got plenty of turning space. So I haven't really used this piece of equipment before. Well, not majorly. I've tried it out. You know, really enjoyed using it, but stuck to the larger one. But I've always been impressed with it, and as I say, I do want to show off some mods that I think are deserving of a little bit of a showcase on our final season of our final Farming Sim 17 Let's Play. So I'm going to do a headland on this side, and then turn and do a headland on that side, and then hopefully that'll be enough, but I don't think it will be. I have to do an extra one on top of that, and I'll probably do that on that field there, just to make sure that we're going to have enough space to be able to turn and go all the way down before we run out of capacity in the harvester. Fills up pretty quick. It really does. And it is, as I say, a wonderful machine. I'm just looking at my displays in here. There you can see we're at 0.3 of a hectare. And is that going to be decimals? Is that 0.3 of an hour? It's got to be 30 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to do another pass on this side. And I'll manually turn it so we don't have to watch it do that long, slow, quite painful wiggle. I remember when the Pterodos first came out on Farming Sim 15, I was really impressed watching the way the beats move through the conveyor system before they got dumped up into the top there. And I still am, in a way. It still looks really good. You can see the beats all being kind of shoveled through the header there into the conveyor underneath the body there, and then that goes down there, winds around the bottom of the frame, then winds back up to the top. Gets pulled up the side there before being dumped into the corkscrew there. I suppose it's an Archimedes screw, I think, which then distributes them across the width of the tank, or at least that's supposed to. Yeah, really impressive. Whoops. We don't have enough space in here yet. Now, the reason I'm going to do this is because I want each tip to be the same density. There we go. So I want each tip to be 35,000 litres, at least to get us started. So this is going to be my dumping area. So I'm going to get my wheels lined up with the edge of the field. Like so. I'm going to pipe out and then engage cruise control and start the tip. And this is where we're going to build our pile of beats, and we'll do this from both fields. They'll both get put into this area, and that way we've got somewhere for our Terra Fellis to actually get in and start attacking this big pile of beats. And this is going to get bigger as we continue harvesting. It's going to get thicker, it's going to get wider, and potentially even a little bit longer if we need to stretch it out a little bit. But there we go. That's going to give us something for our Terra Fellis to get its teeth into. Let's pipe that back in again. We'll just tag and unload right now. There we go. Let's get this back in position and get it continuing its harvest. There we go. Now we can pull alongside and keep emptying that. So this is it, basically. This is all we're doing today, is beet harvesting and then collecting the beets. And I do have some storage lined up for these, and you'll see that a little bit later. So I'm going to crack on now with our beet harvest. This is going to take a while, and I will see you a little bit later. Well, and the rain is starting to set in. It's just started to get cloudy. See, it's starting to get a little bit overcast, a little bit foggy, a little bit harder to see. So that rain is definitely on the way, building up the beet pile quite nicely. Can't see it at the moment because there's a pile of beets in the way of the beet pile. But it is building up quite nicely, and I have been repositioning the Pterodos every time it gets back up to the top of this pass, the downwards pass. just so that it gets a full header's worth going through it. And then I just drive alongside until this thing hits 35,000 litres. Which it will do before it gets to the very edge of the field, but only just. See, there's 30, I've got to get to 35. Then I go back up to the top and then just do the same as we did the first time, just drive the exact same distance and the exact same route, and it just builds that big pile of beets up. And we'll be putting in from both fields on exactly the same spot. We'll have to make it wider as we go, but the Terrafellis has got quite a wide pickup, so that's fine. It's much better, more efficient for us to have a wider, shorter pickup area than a long, straight area that requires a very long distance to do it, because we have to keep repositioning the trucks after a while. You know, if the thing is too long, if the pile is too long. So we'll build it up as to the length it's at, and we'll just keep building it and building it and building it in terms of its height, and then work on its width and make sure it doesn't try not to make it too much longer than it already is. And I think that's going to be long enough. And then, as I say, just work on the width, and the Terrafellis should be able to handle that. It's got I think an 8 meter pickup width, 8 to 9 meters, something like that. So plenty of width capacity. And I get back in position. And there are the first drops of rain. But it will not affect us because we can harvest sugar beets in the rain, which is fantastic. So despite the fact that if this was a normal harvest, this was say our sunflowers or our corn, this would knock us out for most of the day, depending on how long it's going to rain for. Because not only do we have to wait for the rain to stop, but we also have to wait for everything to then dry out again afterwards. With this, we can just keep on going, which is brilliant. So there we go. You can see there is our combine getting closer, still harvesting away. So I shall keep on going and see what time the rain finishes, and once again I'll catch up with you in a little while. Right, there we go, just gone 12 o'clock and the skies are starting to brighten up. The rain has stopped. We're about halfway through the field, so it's taking a long time to get this done, longer than I thought it would. I'm starting to wonder if I'm going to have enough time to get both fields done now. This could be quite tricky. We might have to leave the beets out overnight at this rate and come back and pick them up in the morning. I don't know. Depends how long it takes us to get this field done. At this rate, it's going to be another 4 hours or so, I think, to get that field done. There's our beet pile, as you can see. It's getting wider and a little bit taller. It's starting to look pretty robust, so we're going to have to start moving inward a little bit now. We may even need to start actually thinking about creating a second one, or at least lengthening this one. If we've got that many beets piled up already on just half a field, we've got, another 3 times that amount at least to get added to this pile. This could end up getting quite wide indeed. And what I'm doing, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm trying to use the lines on the field as a guideline for my tyres, so I can make sure that I'm still driving in a straight line, so that way that the pile of beets builds evenly. It doesn't spill out too much, along the way. I'm trying to keep it a nice consistent width and height all the way across. There we go. There is the harvester, still munching through our sugar beets over there. Back into position, waiting at the edge of the field. Switch back into this, and we look there, you can see work time is 1:20, Now I think this is in a decimal points, so it goes all the way up to like 0.9, then 1. So each decimal place is worth 6 minutes effectively. But I think this is real time, as opposed to. In fact, I'm almost certain this is real time as opposed to in-game time, because as you can see, we've been working on this field for over 4 hours now. But in terms of real time, we've been working on this for about an hour and a quarter or so. So yeah, it's kind of cool to actually see the real-time counter as to just how long it's taken me to do the harvest so far, and it gives me a really good indication as to how long it's going to take to do everything. By the time I get this field finished, we'll be able to see in real time how long it actually took me to do it. So that's kind of cool. I do quite like that. That's interesting. You can see we're up to 3.5 hectares now as well. 940 litres left of fuel. We've used up a little bit. We've got more than enough fuel, I think. So let's carry on unloading and piling, working our way through this field. Definitely starting to see a lot more colour again now that that sun's out, and quite bright as well. There's the 80% warning. Shouldn't get too close. There we go. So yeah, definitely a lot more vibrant now than it was earlier when it was raining. It really did look quite miserable. So it's closing in on 4:20, and only now are we finally finishing off this first field. We still have a whole other field to go that's perhaps slightly bigger than this one. I'm starting to wonder whether or not we're actually going to get all this harvesting done today. I don't think we are. I really don't. I'm also wondering just how much I'm going to be able to, how much product I'm going to get off these two fields as well. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be an awful lot. The plan for me was to kind of do all the beet stuff today, do the corn chaff tomorrow. I don't know if that's going to work now. I think possibly we might just have to do the corn harvest as is. Just harvest all the corn rather than chaffing it, because we're not going to have time to ferment it and then sell it. I don't think. I don't know. I don't know what to do now. Do I carry on like this, or do I change things up a little bit in my plans for the rest of the year? This is a tough one to decide. I'm going to press on with the harvest for now. I'm going to see how much headway I can make, but I'm going to be knocking these beets out way into the night. So there we go. That's that done. If I jump out of this for a second. And, the fact that we're using a smaller one of these is completely inconsequential. It still runs at the same speed. It's still using the same working width as the larger one, just as a slightly smaller tank, but that's not been a problem. It's not been an issue at all. So having, the larger one of these would make no difference at all. Having a roper instead of a holmer would make no difference at all. And I say that because I'm sure somebody out there is thinking, well, maybe you should have gone with this, or maybe you should have gone with that. No, I think basically we just needed 2 of these. These are not cheap. Even these smaller ones are over $400,000, and that's without the header. So it's not a case of just getting a different one would fix all my problems. I could work with a 12-meter header, or a 12-row header, I suppose, but that thing would fill the tank so quickly, then we would need a larger one. Plus, the header's going to be really expensive. I mean, if we take a look here, you can see 495,000 is the full-priced Holmer Pterodos, the T440. We're using a T430, which is 435,000. Now, the header that we're using is 78,000. It's an additional 20,000 on top of that for a 12-row header. But it's going to fill the tank so quickly that we'd only be able to do a single pass. We wouldn't be able to come back up again. Now, I suppose I could reconfigure the wheels, but even so, at this short notice, there's no way I could get the right header out to the farm before close of business today. So the other header wouldn't turn up till tomorrow at the very earliest anyway. So we'll stick with what we've got, but I think going forward, next time, we might change things around a little bit. So let's see, how much does it take on a full pass? A full width pass here as well. You can see we're completely filling the header here. So we'll munch our way down here. I do need to put at least 2 headlands in, probably a lot more than 2 headlands at the bottom of the field, because we are really, really close to the fence there. Much closer than the other end of the field by the orchard, or the pre-field 53. So I think we're probably going to need 3 or 4 headlands on this field at least, I would say, just to have any kind of turning room. Otherwise we're just going to be hitting that fence. So let's get those done. And there you can see is my storage solution. I have a couple of silos put in place. I was in contact with Hollister, and I said, you know, I'm planning to do a very big harvest this year on beets, and I want to store them till I can sell them. I don't want to just sell them at a suboptimal price. And we came to an agreement, and I was allowed to have 2 silos constructed here at the facility, which I bought and paid for. And Hollister have agreed to buy at a discounted price once we leave the farm. So we bought and paid for those, had them installed on Hollister property. They are ours exclusively. No other customer can use those. And then Hollister will pay those back from us at a discounted price once we leave the farm and we move out of Oregon. That's not going to be enough, is it? Okay, I'm going to need to bring the Terravariant over. Okay, this is where it's going to slow things down again with the transition between one end of one field all the way to the other end of the other field. This is going to slow things down a bit, and I need to empty this in the process as well, so it's not quite full. So I'm going to try something a little bit different, because we're 5,000 litres short. I'm going to try and drive right alongside the stack. I get lined up. Start tipping in, trying not to drive on the beets themselves. There we go, and you can see the size of our beet pile. It's pretty big. I wonder how many beets are actually in this thing. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be an awful lot of beets in this. There we go. So let's go and empty again. Let's get the headlands done. I don't think 3 is going to be enough. I think maybe 4 might be needed. And then we can start running up and down. And just make as much progress on this in as short as time as possible. You can see it's coming up on 5 o'clock in the evening. This is probably going to take us till nearly midnight to get done. And then we've got the beets to deal with in the morning. So it's going to be a very frantic couple of days, I think, if we do decide to do that, in terms of not just getting the beats done tonight and then picked up tomorrow. That in itself is going to be time consuming. I don't know if I'm going to have enough storage space. I've got 600,000 litres of storage space set up, and I'm starting to wonder if that's going to be enough. I was quite confident that it would be, and now I'm not so sure. Given how many times I've gone up and down the field with 35,000 litres in the back of one of these things, I'm no longer convinced that I have anywhere near enough storage for both of these fields. I think we're going to have to just sell some immediately, or just leave it on the ground and then put as much as we can into the silo just to make things a bit easier when it comes to selling stuff off. If we get a great demand, that would be beautiful. Let's have a look at our predicted prices actually for beets while we're thinking about it. So again, you can see it's a pretty low margin in terms of when's high and when's low. Obviously winter's the best time of year, but it's early winter. That one day on day 4 there, that is because we had a great demand last year and it spiked the price way up. So that's not a traditional kind of step up, that's an aberration. So we're looking to go a little bit more than we've got right now. Let's take a quick look at the prices at the moment for beets. 213. That's not good, is it? It's on the way up, so I'm curious as to what it will get to, but yeah, it's not a great price, is it? So any improvement we see under that over the remainder of this season, going into sort of early to mid-winter, is going to be greatly appreciated, because that price is just not much, and it certainly doesn't justify the amount of money we spent. Over $1 million bringing in all this beet equipment just for a single year's harvest. Obviously, this is just us kind of playing around with the money. And in real life, if you're going to spend this kind of money on this sort of equipment, you'd be doing beets for a long time to make your money back on the amount of to recoup your investment and make a substantial profit. So just spending $1 million for 1 year is stupid, but in reality you would never spend $1 million for a single year's harvest. You'd always spend it for a multi-year period. You'd be looking at a decade, I would imagine, if not more, when you purchase that kind of expensive equipment. You'd be looking at a decade's worth of service at least, maybe even more than that. Okay, so I think actually this will be enough. This will be a big enough headland, I think, to give us the turning room that we're going to need. So we'll restart at the far end of the field, because this thing will fill up on the way back over towards where the beet pile is. And then we'll go and dump the beets, come back, and if we can we'll empty it again, so that when it gets to the far end of the field over there, it's going to be completely empty. And try and restart the whole process again. So let's get lined up. And we're going to continue to add to the pile that we already have. So let's although I suppose what I could do actually, to maybe save a little bit of time, is I could perhaps go and tip this directly into the silos. No, you know what? We spent over $300,000 on a Terrafellis. We're going to use our Terrafellis. We're going to get the most money out of it that we possibly can, or the most use out of it. considering how much money we spent on it. So we'll build a massive beet pile. Plus, I think just the sight of it is going to be pretty impressive once we're done. So that's full already. That thing's probably going to fill up before we get back. If that's the case, then you know, so I need. Sometimes it's a shame that this thing can only go 26 miles an hour. You'd like that extra little bit of grunt. There we go, it's the 80% warning. It can be 100% by the time we're done tipping along here. Let's get into position. Lined up. That looks to be about right. There we go. I'm using that dark line on the edge of my tyres there as a guide. Again, just to try and stay in a straight line if I can. Apply a nice even tip. It's looking pretty consistent. It's looking pretty straight. Alright, job done. So let's head back. LPG has a full grain tank as expected. Well, that kind of works. That's fine. So we can empty that, we'll get an extra 5,000 litres in there as well. And then we've made pretty good progress on the field. I think it's about, what was it, about 18,000, so probably be a bit less than that on a single row, be about 15,000 per pass, maybe. So yeah, we should hit. Well, maybe more than that, maybe 16,000. We should hit our limit just about every couple of passes, which is good. And if I'm careful with it, you know, we'll have a full 35,000. So yeah, time to crack on. 5:30 already. Look, time to crack on with this and get as much done as we can before we lose the light, and then take it from there. Well, would you just look at that? Great demand at Hollister Sugar Beet. Hollister Sugar Beets, 4 sugar beets, and I didn't see how long it lasted. I didn't get that far. I'm gonna check the footage in a moment and see just how long that beet demand is for. But how fortuitous is that timing wise? And we just looked at the price earlier. It was what, 213. It wasn't particularly good, and you can see I've extended this right down. I completely forgot again that this is completely controllable like that. So that's helped even out that beet pile a little bit. Let's take a look at our beet price. It's already up to 300. Oh man, I think we could be just rushing this to market right now. I need to seriously think about this. I also need to find out just how long this beet demand is going for. So I shall check on that, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so I've checked, and it's a 24-hour demand, which means that'll go through till 6 PM tomorrow. That's awesome. And if we take a look at the predicted prices, you can see that the price is supposed to take a big jump up tomorrow as it is, based on where we are right now. So we won't be selling any beets today, but we will be selling them tomorrow. So those silos that we had constructed earlier in the year in preparation for our harvest are now probably not going to get used, which means we're going to make a loss on that deal. But we do have that sudden market demand for beets, and you can see the weird little conga that our harvester is doing here. We just don't have enough space for turning still, so we're going to put another couple of headlands in just to make sure that we can actually stop it from doing that weird little backwards dance that it does every time it gets to the end, because it slows down how quickly it gets back on the harvest, you know, having to do that weird little reversey dance thing. It looks ridiculous as well. So yeah, we'll get these 2 headlands put in to give us a bit more turning room, and then yeah, We're just going to work as long as it takes to get this field done. So we're going to be working into the wee hours of the morning potentially. And the beets will almost certainly just leave piled on the floor overnight. And yeah, take them straight to market tomorrow. I wonder what the price is going to end up as. At 300 is the price that we have right now. It was actually in a state of flux at the time, so it was going up before that demand hit. So does that mean the demand is going to go up over the next few hours before it hits midnight, before it takes that jump up anyway? We could be on for a really nice price tomorrow, and the whole lot is going to go through at that price. We're not going to have the expected problem of having to mess around with conveyors to tip it all at a sensible price, rather than crash the market after just a couple of tips. That's going to help us immensely. So we'll get this thing emptied again very quickly. So one thing I do like about these harvesters as well is they have like a turbo unload. Look how quickly the tank's going to fill up. It just pours in so fast. It's 10,000 litres already. It's insane how fast these things fill up. Price hasn't moved yet. I'm going to keep my eye on that while I'm working away on this harvest, as I'm expecting to see that bump itself up just a little bit before midnight, and then come midnight it should take quite a big jump. So yeah, this is the timing couldn't have been better, you know, and it's fortuitous as well that we started our beet harvest today, because given how long it's taken to do one field, there's no way we could have met that demand if we'd started our harvest tomorrow. You know, even at say starting at 6 o'clock in the morning, we just wouldn't have had enough time in 12 hours to get both fields done. It just wouldn't have happened. So the timing has been really fortuitous with that great demand, you know, hitting us as we're already onto the second field, because it gives us time to get it all done and then get it all collected up into trucks and shipped ready for market. So yeah, very, very happy indeed. Let's go build that pile up even bigger. So coming up on 10:30 in the evening here. About 2/3 of the way through this field, so still a good few hours of harvesting to go until this is finished. The pile is getting pretty big. It's about as wide as I want it to be now, so I'm just working its height now, trying to get it all, you know, piled up a bit more centrally rather than stretching it width-wise. I don't want to go too wide, otherwise there might be a problem trying to pick it all up with the Terra Fellis tomorrow. And the price has changed ever so slightly. I had a look a moment ago and the price had increased to $301. So it does look as though that is starting maybe to just creep up ever so slightly. Just get this positioned about right. It'll be right up on the edge of the beet pile here, I think. Try and get it into the centre. Start on the edge of the field. There we go. Excellent stuff. And I can always go around and do the same on the other side as well if I need to. So there we go. That's piling in there quite nicely. That's a lot of beets. It's an awful lot of beets for us to deal with tomorrow, but with a great demand, we don't have to worry, as I say, about selling them all in a single continuous run. We can sell them piecemeal, trailer by trailer by trailer. So I thought tomorrow we would be doing our forage harvesting. It looks more like we're going to be doing a beet selling tomorrow, and nothing else. Let's take a quick look at the price. There you can see the price is 301, so it's gone up $1 in the last few hours. It might go up a little bit more, but come midnight, and we'll still be going gone past midnight, that price will take another step up. Hopefully quite a nice sizable step. And finally, we're on the final little strip. I'm actually manually doing this, as you can see, just because this has been an epic harvest. You can see here, it's gone 10 past 2 in the morning, and we are still chugging away. I've got this little bit here that needs to be unloaded, and then that's it. You know, I actually brought the auger all the way down here, and I just realised I don't know why I bothered doing that, because this is also an auger. So I'm going to unload directly using the harvest. But look at our harvest work time. A fraction under 4 hours of real-time harvesting, just pulling all these beets out to the hours. That's how long it's taken me to work this, and that's just running the combine. So there's been the little bits of downtime between the fields as well, and you know, some of the other stuff. It's been a long day. It's been a very long day. 4 hours of harvesting. Let's fold this up. There we go. I can't actually see where I'm going because the light is reflecting back on a very muddy screen, so I'll have to do this like this. You can just see that glare from those top lights is just a bit too bright. Can't really see where I'm going. Let's pipe out. And there we go. There is our huge pile of beets. And it is a huge pile of beets. You can see how tall it is and how wide it is. That's a lot. I shudder to think just how many hundreds of thousands of litres are in that long pile there. It's a lot. And it's taken me a long time to get to this point where we are now finished with this field. But we are, so let's get this folded up. Let's get the equipment taken back and put away and turn in for the night. Tomorrow we're selling all of that. Oh, by the way, I checked the market price. It didn't fluctuate above 301 until midnight. Now 320, and hopefully when we get up in the morning after a few hours of sleep, it'll be a little bit higher still. We've got until 6 PM to get all that unloaded. And that is going to be the first order of business tomorrow, is making sure that we take full advantage of that great demand and sell the whole lot at 320 or higher. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I'll be back with some more Lone Oak Farm very soon.